day, viewers. Welcome to another episode of ParlourTalk. On ParlourTalk today, we'll be following up on the post we had earlier in the week about the attacks on Nigerians in South Africa. Yeah, a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks about the spate of attacks on Nigerians and other Africans in South Africa. There have been a lot of misconceptions in the media. There have been a lot of blame games here and there. Policies, sprouts of policies, policy changes, and different policies from the federal government, promises and statements by who is who, the creme de la creme, in Nigeria especially, regarding these incidents. The incidents that have happened in South Africa regarding the destruction of lives, the destruction of properties in South Africa. Today, I've got a friend and a colleague who happens to be working in South Africa. He's a journalist. He's lived in South Africa for over a decade, and is also a software developer. A software developer in South Africa. So today on ParlourTalk, I will be rubbing minds with Adekunle Owolabi, who obviously, like I said, lives in South Africa, on the events in South Africa, what it's like for average Nigerians living in South Africa, how the policy changes or how the policies by the federal government has affected South Africa, their own first-hand experience and understanding of what is happening in South Africa and how it affects Nigerians living in South Africa, and what Nigerians living in South Africa are doing as a collective to improve their conditions in South Africa. These, among many other things, are discussed with Kunle in the interview. Have a watch. Following the event that has happened in the last 1 week regarding the xenophobic attack in South Africa, destruction of properties of Nigerians and other Africans in South Africa. So I said we'll discuss it more in details later in the week. And today I've got with me a friend who's living in South Africa, who I believe can shed more light on the happenings surrounding the xenophobic attack or self-hate or attack in South Africa, as you might want to call it. And today with me, I've got Kunle in South Africa. Mr. Kunle, welcome to ParlourTalk. Can you please introduce yourself, sir?
Thank you for having me. My name is Adekunle Owolabi. I'm a researcher. I'm also a developer and a journalist based in Johannesburg, and I've been living in Johannesburg now for the past 13 years now. Yeah.
Can you say that again? How many years you say?
For the past 13 years, yeah.
13 years.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Icebreaker there. So obviously you're not a Yahoo boy, so let's let's demystify that right from the onset, because there's this perception that when you're outside Nigeria, you're in South Africa or Ghana, and I know it's an erroneous belief, and I think it's actually important that we clear that from the onset, that not everyone going to South Africa is actually a Yahoo boy. So could you tell us more about the actual work you do in South Africa,
yes,
and how you got into that, really?
Yeah, I work with the second biggest media agency in South Africa. I would not mention the name of the company because it's because of their brand. But I work in one of the biggest newsroom here in South Africa, and I basically manage the website, apps, the server, all the infrastructure for the news agency, and that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. And then often I do get assigned to work on special stories, if my time is available, because I still love journalism and I do that occasionally through our platform, Nigerians in South Africa.co.za.
Right. Okay. Um. Still on that. I know that wasn't going to be my starting point, but while we're talking about um the work you do in South Africa, can you shed more light? Yeah, no matter how brief you might want to do it. Like, how did you come to become engaged in South Africa, like work-wise? Did you like decide to move from Nigeria and go to South Africa to get a job? Were you studying in South Africa and you just transited into working in South Africa? How did that come about?
I actually I partly studied in Nigeria and continued my studies here in South Africa. So I studied at the University of South Africa, and from there, after finishing my studies, then I had to leave and work here, and that was how I actually live here with my younger brother as well. He also works here. We both studied, and we came to South Africa when we were quite young, and
Okay,
yeah.
right. Yeah, that'll bring me to the next question I want to ask you. I've asked it a little bit before, that there's this misconception that Nigerians, the part of the reason for this, for the recent development in South Africa, or the reason why Nigerians are being killed in South Africa, or the reason why people might actually hate Nigerians in South Africa, was because Nigerians um, are involved in quite unwholesome jobs or activities in South Africa, like drug peddling, like wire fraud, and the rest of it. So, what can you say about that misconception? Because I personally know it's not true. So, but you as a person in South Africa on ground, so what can you say about that misconception?
Well, there is no misconception about anything in South Africa. Nigerians do crime in South Africa, and obviously, when I say Nigerians do crime in South Africa, that does not mean every Nigerian in South Africa is a criminal. And based
Yeah,
on the police report, um, prosecutions, and the numbers of Nigerians that we have in South African prisons, is
yeah,
if we were to review their crime, you can see that Nigerians are actually involved in these criminal activities in South Africa. And knowing the population, the numbers. So I mean, in the amount of Nigerians that are here. So the more Nigerians you have, and the more bad Nigerians you have in a space, the more crime that would obviously happen, and ends why when I don't think is a misconception, and of course people would
right.
people stereotypes every now and then, and which is something that is somehow beyond my control. And having lived in South Africa for this long, sometimes occasionally people would make remarks and comments that are not that are not polite, that are not necessary. But I do not let those things get to me, because I do know that I do not do crime, and I will just move ahead and keep pushing and keep doing what I do. Yeah.
Right. Thanks for that. But yeah, I get the fact that you said that there isn't a misconception. Maybe the choice of word misconception was, maybe that wasn't the right choice of word. But in every society, the reasons why you have rules is that there will be, you anticipating that some people will cross the road at some point. And when they break the rule, they face the consequence or the music
Yeah.
of the rule. So if we all resort to um, a system where there are no rules, that's a state of anarchy. So if
Yes.
Nigerians are in South Africa and they commit crime and they go to jail for it, that's probably the end of it. It's the same thing
Yeah.
if a South African that's a native of South Africa commits a crime, he goes to jail for it.
Yes.
So regardless, that shouldn't have any bearing on how the next person who hasn't committed a crime whether that person is Nigerian or is South Africa. It shouldn't have any bearing on how you relate with them, if you get what I mean.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah. So, in your words, what do you think is the reason for the frequent clashes in South Africa regarding the so-called this xenophobic or self-hate crime, as some people like to call it?
Um, the reason why this attacks are happening in South Africa is because um, South Africa as a country is just a violent country, and not that I'm actually painting everybody in South Africa to be violent people, but certain amount of people in South Africa are violent people, and I would want to address it in this angle. When South Africans want to address any issues, any problems in their community, they do not always use the dialogue approach. They would rather use a violent approach, and which usually involves burning of properties, burning of infrastructures, whatever it is that they can find. They would burn that thing just to get the message across to the government. And this is something that they inherited during the apartheid time in South Africa,
Yeah,
when before 1994. So this was
yeah.
how they were addressing their
They've kind of been
problems.
wired that way because that's how they've been
Yes,
addressing the
yes,
problems over time.
yes, and knowing that the sometimes there are criminals in there are South Africans who are criminals, obviously, but sometimes migrants, there are some migrants that are also engaging in criminal activities. So the way the South Africans would respond to the migrant, the vices that are attached to the in the migrant community, they would rather just go to wherever they are staying and burn their business, and sometimes lives are lost in this process sometimes. So it is not like South Africa, they do target migrants when these issues are happening, and just to get their message across that they are not happy with whatever it is that they've done. Like in the recent attack that happened now, that is happening right now in South Africa, it was alleged that a Nigerian killed a taxi driver, which we could not confirm. And I also saw another video of a man saying that the person who shot this driver is a Tanzanian and not a Nigerian.
Yeah,
And
I saw that video as well.
some news agencies still run that video, but this is someone. How are we so sure? How are we so sure this man is saying the truth?
Truth.
Does he know
Yeah.
this person? You cannot look at someone and figure out where they're from just by looking at them. So we could not verify. Even the law enforcement in the country could not verify if truly it was a Nigerian or neither was a Tanzanian. So that was what actually happened, what triggered
If,
the,
if
the,
I
the
can,
attack.
if I can box in there, Conley, why is
Yes.
it difficult to actually investigate, or maybe investigative journalism or police actually doing detective work to actually identify rather than hearsays and conjectures that are going around? Because that seems to be finding the problem on ground. Why is it so difficult to actually pinpoint or have a reasonable come to a reasonable conclusion of what actually happened?
Um, I mean, I think South Africa has a very fantastic police force, if I will put it that way. But when it comes to issues like this, we do not always get to know how it always end. Like we got some report from the South African police that I cannot remember the numbers, but I know a certain amount of people were arrested during the protests. And I know it's just a matter of time they will be released, because it is really hard to prosecute rioters, because you need more concrete evidence to prosecute them. they'll probably give them a warning. They will check if they had previous conviction and those kind of things. And if they have never had
Right.
previous convictions, they will let them go. So in this situation, I think the South African police have not really done a lot of in-depth work or in-depth investigation in actually getting to prosecute the guys or the people who are behind this attack. And I
Could
think
that
they
be
need to.
because, sorry,
Yeah,
I keep interrupting you, but
yeah,
I
no, that is
just
fine.
want to like, yeah, yeah. Could that be because they, like the citizen, just think, what's the point? Because if, when you have a mindset or if there's a stereotype about foreigners, or I don't want to make a Nigerian, I don't want to make a peculiar case to Nigeria in this case, about all the Africans that are living in South Africa regarding, which is going to kind of brought to my next question, regarding them stealing their jobs, them not happy with the way they kind of control things that they believe should belong to South Africans. Because there's this video going on about this deputy minister of police that said that in a town in Johannesburg, 80% of them are foreigners. You think that someone in that position of authority should be the one preaching calmness and obey, that people should obey law and order? Do you think that that plays on the mind of the police as well when investigating or looking into incidents like this? That, okay, well, the people, South Africans are actually right, they're fighting their rights, so why should we stop them, or why should we rule everything they do as a criminal offense because, well, they're defending their position? Do you think that plays on the mind of the law enforcement agents when they're looking into these situations, which makes them kind of track these cases off as they come along?
Um, I think this. I would take this as a speculative argument, and because
Yeah,
something that I cannot really prove, I would not be able
yeah,
to stand by it. And this would be like a personal account from my experience.
yeah,
Based on my day-to-day interaction with South African police or South African people in general, and the based on also on our research work that we've done, the victims of this
yeah,
attack and the people from the migrant community as well. Well, I'm also part of the migrant community as well. So
yeah,
the mindset that they have towards the authorities, towards South Africa, is they feel like sometimes the police do extort money from these guys, and some of them are undocumented, and some of them they have issues maybe with the law somehow. So I think there is that they do not also have faith in the police, and they do not have faith
system.
so I think the way the South African police or the authorities are addressing these issues that have to do with migrant, they do not really see it's not of any importance in any way. I do not know so they do not feel like they don't feel protected. They don't even feel like they're part of the community as well. And this is also one of the reasons why there was a video. I do not know if you've seen that video of a riot in Johannesburg where the migrant chased the police, pelted them with stones and rocks and whatever they could find. So
Mm-hmm.
that was like a frustration from the migrant community. And when we interacted with the community, because the police raided their business, saying that they actually stock fake product, fake goods, and they had to fight back to defend their livelihood. And it was quite intense. It was quite intense that the police had to reinforce and they have to come back and all of that. And for the community to rise against the police, there are things that we do not know, that is not open to
Yeah,
our
that must
eyes
have
and to our
happened. Yeah.
mind. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's quite a lot of speculations. People come to us, they try to give us some classified information, but in the
Yeah.
end, we believe we can conclude that the migrant community does not trust the police, and they feel like they're being intimidated by authorities as well.
Okay. Um, so
there's a bit of justification, because before you don't trust the system, there must have been something. Maybe some things are not explained to you properly, or maybe you just, based on your personal account, some people, they feel that the police has not done enough to protect them.
Yes.
Thanks for that, Kunle. My next question is going to be a bit direct. You're Nigerian. You're a foreigner living in South Africa.
Yes.
Are Nigerians actually still in South African jobs?
I do not agree to that. I do not think Nigerians are still in jobs in South Africa. I do not think any other migrant from other countries are still in jobs. And based on the research that we did here in South Africa, we realized that it is the total population of migrants in the country. It is 2.8%, and out of the total population of 55.7 million South Africans. And how can 2.8% of it's a very small fraction. That means there is no jobs, because there are no jobs in South Africa, or there are few jobs, because the migrants here, they're very few compared to the total population in South Africa. So I do not think this migrants, and most of them, they are skilled migrants. They create their own jobs, they build their community, they run several businesses. And if we look at the professionals as well, and South Africa is an emerging economy with a lot of investment. If I look at for the past 5 to 10 years, South Africa, I would look in 10 years ago and 5 years ago and now, totally different. And when you have a booming economy, you attract different talent, you attract different skill set, and which you might not find among the local people. And they have to get expatriates from wherever they can find them. And I do not think expatriate would be still in jobs, because if they do have people that could do the work, there would not be need for expatriate. And with a president going everywhere to call for investors to invest in the economy, and sometimes investors might want to bring their human resource as well. And when the local people say that, they would think they would just describe that as, oh, they're still in our jobs. And I think that conversation needs to be communicated to the people. They need to have an understanding of the total amount of migrants that we have in South Africa. 2.8% of the total population is the numbers of migrants in the country, and that number is not enough to take all the jobs. If we have when I did the math, it didn't add up, and they should stop saying that migrants are taking their jobs.
Yeah. To add to that, I think I read it somewhere that the unemployment in South Africa has risen to 10 million. So just to buttress what you're saying, if that's anything to go by, the population of foreign Nigerians in South Africa, if you say it's 2.85%, the population of South Africa is about 55 million, right?
Yeah, 55 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 2.8% is the total number of migrants, everyone included.
So that's not like 1.5 million, give or take. So
yes,
if you have an unemployment
Nigerians.
of 10 million, so 1.5, yeah, I get that. The math doesn't add up. So I think it's just an avenue to be anger. Before we go on a break, I just want to ask you this very direct question, because obviously there's a lot of things flying about in the social media and in the media space as well. Most of them unverified, I must say. And I've been careful when talking about this attack in South Africa, to be precise. Has any Nigerian, to your knowledge, been killed in the recent spate of attacks in South
Africa? The recent attack that happened now, I can confirm with you, as at this hour that we having this conversation, we do not have any knowledge of any Nigerian that has been killed at all. So no Nigerian was killed during this attack, the recent attack, fresh attack that happened. And when Nigeria though someone was shot in the crossfire, and we confirmed that it was a South African, and the guy died the day after. I think he died on Thursday on Wednesday. Actually, was shot on Tuesday. He died on Wednesday. So it's just so unfortunate that this happened. It was true when the police were trying to disperse the crowd, and he got shot in the head, and they had to take him to the hospital. Paramedic tried to revive him, and he died the day after. Yeah, and it wasn't a Nigerian. No Nigerian was killed. I can confirm that with you.
Oh, thank you very much. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we look at the relationship between Nigeria and South Africa and how it affects Nigerians in South Africa. Do stay with us.
Okay.